sunrise smiles on everything around. It's a portrait of the happiness that we feel and always will. The wait is enough.
If you are intrigued by 16 motorized faders and beyond, then join me for the next episode of I Don't Have a Band right now. Welcome to episode 13 of I Don't Have a Band. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the recently released QCon Pro Audio QCon EX G2, which is a lot newer than that 70s TV show reference in the opening. The EX G2 is an extender for the QCon Pro G2 Universal Control Surface. So, if you're already the proud owner of a G2, or if you're looking for a DAW controller with 16 channels or more, then this is really worth checking out. You can add up to 3 extenders to get a full set of touch-sensitive motorized faders across 32 channels, and once connected, the entire setup works as if it was one device. Alright, let's jump into the studio and check it out. If you are a G2 owner, then you already know the platform. Setting up the EX G2 is virtually the same as the main unit. I covered that in detail in a previous episode. Look for that link in the description below. The only difference is making sure you select QCon EX G2 when given options to ensure you are setting up the extender specifically. To quickly summarize, you should run the firmware updater first to make sure the unit is up to date. When you turn the EX G2 on, you can use the highlighted buttons to choose which extender you are connecting. In this case, I only have one, so I choose extender 1. Here, you also choose your DAW mode. These choices are saved in memory, so you only need to do this once. I use Logic Pro, but QCon provides detailed instructions for a ton of different DAWs right in the box. In Logic Pro, you navigate to Control Surfaces Setup, install a second instance of the Mackie Designs Mackie Control Protocol, and configure this controller setup for the QCon EX G2. Once configured, the EX G2 springs to life. The only setup consideration at this point is the orientation of the units. I've set up my extender to the right of the main unit. This places my DAW functions and transport controls in the center. The master fader remains on the main unit, now closer to the middle. It's easy enough to play around with this to see which orientation suits your workflow best. If you want to place the extender to the left of the main controller, all you do is change the order in the Control Surfaces setup and the 2 units automatically orient themselves. The cool thing about this is the DAW now sees the 2 units as one controller, and the extender slaves to the main unit, so the bank buttons on the QCon Pro controls both units as one device, as do the DAW functions if assigned to tracks on this side. I will say, the more faders you have, the less you will need to bank, especially if you're working with 24 or 32 faders. For me, having the 16 plus master works great because one group of instruments rarely exceeds 16 tracks in my mixes. I've got my full drum kit laid out and still have room for my bass guitar tracks. I tend to multi-track my guitars a lot, but 16 available faders generally covers all of the guitars I need to tackle. So really, the biggest workflow boost is having everything I'm working on in front of me all at once, especially at the beginning of a session. I start with my drums and bass, get them roughed together, then bank over to my guitars, and I can still keep my bass tracks in view. And then I keep working to the right through each additional group. And once I'm in fine-tune mode, then I can whip around in banks of 16 or single tracks to zero in on areas I'm working on. In Logic, it conveniently displays the current range you are controlling, and it even color codes what tracks each device is controlling, removing a lot of the guesswork. In terms of build quality, the extender is built to the same exact standards as the QCon Pro G2. I used the phrase "built like a tank" in the last video. Well, now I've got 2 tanks. The case is solid, and all of the buttons, knobs, and faders are the same as the main unit. And speaking of faders, the additional set of high-resolution Alps motorized faders is a real treat. Never mind mix recall, this controller stays in sync with your mix in real time all the time. And with a mixing desk this big, that is pure productivity. The bright LED display is also identical, and so are the 12-segment LED meters on each channel. The additional rotary encoders opens up even greater access to plug-in controls as more parameters are laid out in front of you at once. You'll have to make sure you have the real estate on your desk if you plan to grow beyond one unit. The EX G2 adds about 14 inches in width, so you're looking at about 34 inches for this setup. Do the math if you're interested in adding 2 or 3 extenders. If you've got the space, expanding beyond 8-channel control is amazing. Just having all of those touch-sensitive motorized faders at your fingertips is truly an immersive experience. And iCon's pricing makes it really easy to get into physical mixing. Plus, the platform is expandable, so your controller can now grow with you. The EX G2 is built to the same high standards as the main controller, guaranteeing consistency from 8 to 32 channels. There are no compromises on the extender, providing seamless integration with the QCon Pro G2. My studio's come a long way from just a mouse and a keyboard. Now I might have to invest in a bigger desk just so I can make room for another extender. For more information on the EX G2 and other products, visit iconproaudio.com. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe, and ring that bell if you want to stay up to date. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you could do by yourself right from your own home. Thanks for watching.